You have more information on that position.
Yeah, we literally just had Pastor Joe speak in practicum at noon today. And you know, usually have a pastor come in, they tell you their story a little, tell you about the opportunity. And at the end of it, he said, you know, I just wanted to share some things that I wish someone had shared with me when I was your age. And he just started dropping these wisdom nuggets. And you could just hear students furiously, you know, writing them down. So in the middle of it, we decided just to continue with it. You know, it was going to end at one point, but there was such a connection that I could tell students wanted to continue to engage it. You know, he dealt with a lot of key areas of ministry, but where he's been, the church has gone from 50 people, I believe, to 250. They're in a community where they're seeing real good growth and development, so he's ready to hire his first full-time staff. It'll be an associate role, full-time salary, and it includes a house. So that's, you know, no small thing when you look at the provisional aspects of ministry. But I was very intrigued with him, really impressed with just his wiring, his commitment to intimacy with Jesus. And I would, any of you that are looking, and I know all of you are, many of you are, it would be well worth sitting down with him and interacting. Very, very good opportunity, I believe, in this church.
And next week is career week. So it's we're like working, getting it all ready for all of you for next week for career week. Next Tuesday at 12 noon to 1:15 in Sawgrass, we have approximately 8 to 10 pastors, women and men, coming to engage with students on mock interviews. And these are pastors like from the Highland Church, from one of the, I forget what Joe's church, the name of Joe's church is.
Faith Celebration.
Faith Celebration. There's just a whole list. You will be receiving that list in flyers that you will be getting tomorrow, and then also check your emails. You'll be getting all the information. But next Tuesday, it's actually a class that's going to be starting there, but you're more than welcome to come for that, and there's going to be workshops throughout the week. If a workshop says it's going to be located, you know, in the business area and it's a business class, it's also a general invitation. You're welcome to go to any of them. And on Monday, if you need any help with your resumes, we have some HR people coming from our local companies. They're going to be there to do a resume checkup with you, and we will have everything set up for you to get a professional headshot done if you need new photos on your resume. So Monday's going to be our kickoff day.
Yes. So today, Dr. Ehlers asked us to talk about marriage and ministry. And it is one of the areas that we've had a little bit of experience in. Wherever we've been in ministry, Pamela and I have tended to team together in what we do. Some of that sort of, I think, happened because of mutual interest, you know, in ministry. Most of you have heard our story that, you know, we actually met here at Southeastern. We attended school here. I met her in the library. It was one of the few times that Pamela ever went to the library.
You're not supposed to tell me.
She had a, you know, you could get a major in social skills, she would have had it. She was very social, and I was more of the introvert, bookworm, you know, guy. And it's a wonder that we
miracles do happen.
It really is. And it was at the library. You know, I was sitting at one of the large desks, just trying to get some work done. A few of my friends were with me. Pamela came in, knew someone, sat down, and she, you know, Pamela, when I read a book, it's a private experience. When Pamela reads a book, it's a community experience. You know, oh, this is so good. Let me read this to you. And so she's reading, and she said, oh, what's this word? I don't know what this word is. Does anyone know what this word means? And I'm over here just trying to get my homework done. So this was before the days, you know, of cell phones and Google. We had a large dictionary at a table you went over to. They had scrap paper. So I went over, like turned the page, found the definition, wrote it down, wrote the definition, went over and said, here you go. She thought that was the most romantic thing.
So are we gonna tell them the whole story? Okay, so the whole story is, I thought that was the most romantic thing anyone had ever done for me. I was like so kind of, swept off my feet, and I was like, oh, this guy, we wish today that we had that little piece of paper and that stuff, and I didn't. And so right after that was the Sadie Hawkins, and I had lived every year at Southeastern saying, I will not ask any guy to the Sadie, I'm above that. And then our senior year, I got guy I had been dating, he kept telling everybody, broken up, he kept telling everybody, oh, Pam's gonna ask me. So I had to prove him wrong, and I had to ask somebody. So I was like, well, I think I'm gonna ask Robert Crosby. Don't know the guy very well, but I think I'm gonna ask him. So while I was up in the library, that was part of the plan of being up in the library. I didn't know there were books up in the library, but so I was having a good time. So, we went to Sadie Hawkins and had a great time getting to know each other, and the rest is history. So it's like 4 houses later, 4 kids later, a couple pets later. And I had just had our 4th baby, I think. We were in Boston, and one of his first books is actually like the second book had come out. It was written for men. And I'm telling this story all these years of this romantic moment where I met him and he wrote down this word for me and was so thoughtful. I opened the first chapter of this book written to men, and it says, there was this day in the library. I'm like, oh, he's telling the story. And it's going on saying, how I was sitting there and he was trying to get his work done. And you know what he said in the book? He said, so hoping she would stop talking so I could get my work done, I went and looked up the word. I was like,
I hear in the other room, you did what?
So yeah, that was my great revelation of the true heart of Robert. A little too late though, it was like 15 years later.
So going into our senior year, we were not dating. I was at the beginning of my senior year, and I pretty much figured out I'm probably not going to find the person for me here. I'd already begun to figure I'll probably be a youth pastor somewhere, maybe meet someone eventually. So we went into our senior year not really expecting to find someone.
No, thinking we were going to graduate and be done with it. And I didn't want to meet, after I broke up with that last relationship, I was like done with Southeastern men. I wasn't gonna, no, don't raise your hand. I was so done, I was not gonna marry a guy from Southeastern. So, yeah, so be careful, and never say never. Never say you're gonna interview with a pastor, never say you're gonna move to Ohio, never say you won't marry somebody from Southeastern.
Yes. So, with the subject of marriage and ministry, what you would really like to do is to respond to questions that you have. So while we're sharing, while we're teaching, and at any point when you have a question, raise your hand. Then what we'll try to do at the end is leave extra time for some Q&A. But when you look at the subject of marriage, it's an area that has become too diminished in our culture. For a number of reasons, some societal, social, political. We've almost lost a sense of the majesty and the wonder of marriage. And yet, you go to Ephesians 5, and Paul said marriage reveals something about Jesus and his relationship with the church. In the middle of it, as he coaches husbands and wives on how to relate to one another, he says this is a profound mystery. So, and he says that, you can see that this is a profound mystery. You don't read that often in Scripture. You don't read the word mystery all that often with Paul. So Paul's inviting us to do what? To explore the mystery. In other words, there's more here. There's something to it. We believe, You know, that there's so many dimensions to marriage, even theological, reflection of the Trinitarian union. God wanted to cover the globe with his glory. So one way he did that was to create families that were to reflect the union of the members of the Trinity. And now we see it in the interactions of the Trinity. We see it in the prayer of Jesus in John 17. Father, that's a familial term. Father, I pray that they would all be one, even as you and I are one. So families become this beautiful Trinitarian reflection, as in heaven, so on earth. God loves it. The scripture says he puts the lonely in families. We're all nurtured, developed. We learn about life and God and faith often in families. And partly because of some of the failures of the family, the dysfunctions of the family, Jesus came to introduce this spiritual family called the church. And in many ways is like a safety net to catch people and to draw them into the love of God. So they're mysteries, they're beautiful wonders to consider and behold in marriage. So we would encourage you, even theologically, pursue the mystery. Seek it out. I believe Paul is inviting us to do it, and our culture needs for people to do that today. Because when you mention marriage, often we say, well, let's be sensitive when we define marriage. But if we hear that and we choose to forget to convey the beauty and the wonder of God made man, male and female, he made them, we miss something. We diminish something of the wonder, the beauty, the creation of God. So that's just some of the consideration. Then we have the very practical dimensions. Yes. We like to say these two shall become one, but not overnight.
It's almost as though if you took Africa and China and said, in one night become one country. Many ways, that's what it's like when you have a man and a woman. You send them on their honeymoon, and for whatever reason, we all have this idea that we're going to become one. You know, at the end of the honeymoon, you know, we got it down. We know what we're doing. I know all about him. He knows all about me. But truth is that mystery of marriage that Paul was talking about, it lasts a lifetime. And it can either be a really wonderful, exciting journey of discovery in mystery, or you can turn it into a not so positive experience. But it all has so much to do with the choices that we make. You make choices every day as students. You know, you make choices starting off with what you're going to wear, or who you're going to talk to, what you're going to eat. Are you going to go to class? You're going to sleep in? You're making choices all the time. And it's very similar when we get into a marriage relationship. You make choices constantly. What type of marriage you have, what type of marriage you experience, has more to do with your choices than it would have to do maybe with the marriage you saw your parents have or not have. Because we can learn from everyone around us, but it always comes back down to our choices. And I find it interesting sometimes. I was raised in the church, and all my life, you know, I've heard about what happened in Genesis 3 in the Garden of Eden. In fact, I teach a workshop for women, and I say it began in the garden, because I think that a lot of the things that we as females deal with on a daily basis, and it really, even in our own human nature, began in the garden. When Eve reasoned her way into sin. My big question is always, which we won't talk about today, but did sin occur when she bit into the fruit, or did sin occur when she thought about, and her thoughts drew her into that moment? And we emphasize a lot the curse that was placed on man and woman in Genesis 3 as an outcome, which was the outcome of their choice. we like to often focus on the fact that when sin entered into the garden, what was the first thing man and woman did? Anybody want to answer that? Want to take a guess? Yes.
They cover themselves?
They covered themselves. And you know what was really sad about that moment? He didn't go get something to cover her. He went and he covered himself. Eve went and found something to cover herself. And it was in Genesis 3 we see God loving them so much that there was the first sacrifice, the first animal in Scripture dies, and God covers them. And God continues to cover us every day in our marriages. But when we look at Genesis 3, we often get stuck there, and we kind of like, well, of course he's going to do that. That's the curse of man, or that's the curse on woman. But what I like to look at is Genesis 2. The perfect man and woman. And because of John 3:16, because Jesus came and covered us with his blood, and died, was resurrected, and is our Savior, I can have the freedom to live like the woman of chapter 2 in Genesis. The perfect, working towards that, making choices towards that, being the wife that will complement my husband, being the husband that's going to complement the wife. And we love how Ephesians 5 says, as we submit to one another, and that's really so much what it's about, covering one another, being strong at times of the other's weakness, standing strong together. You cannot predict the journey that's ahead of you. But boy, I'll tell you what, that scripture that says two are better than one, it is the absolute truth. Walking through difficult times in the journey of life with someone you know is going to carry you in prayer, someone you know is going to put their arm around you at the right time, someone you know that's going to be there, they're watching you, they see you, they know you so well that they know what's going on in your mind. You don't always have to use words. That's the two that are better than one. But it's a mystery, and you move towards that, you make choices towards that.
And in your relationship, knowing one another, there's the mysteries. You look at women and say they'll never figure men out, or men that will say I'll never figure women out. I remember my granddad had an alcohol issue. So every now and then his advice to me as a kid wasn't always the best. He was having an argument one day with my grandmother, and I believe he'd had one too many. And he said, I was probably 12 years old, he said, Robert, don't ever marry a woman. And I'm thinking, what's the alternative? So the mystery. And what we often will say is we'll look at a room of students like this, or young adults we're meeting with, and we'll ask, are any of you in love with someone? Or is there someone you really like? Are you really interested in? If you end up getting married to them, you know what you like about them already? It's going to be even better when you get married, because you're together so much more. So whatever it is you like about them is going to be even better when you get married. You know what you don't like about them? It's going to be more challenging because of the closeness of marriage. The intimate dynamic of it. So while you're able to bless, learn, encourage one another, there's also a sharpening, a refining. And part of it, I remember Pamela came from a family that was much more open than mine. So if you had a disagreement, you just put it on the table. You talk about it, you argue it out, and you resolve it. Even Dad and Mom would argue, but they would eventually kiss and make up in front of the kids. I came from a family where, mom and dad kept the arguments to private places. So they kept everything pretty even keel. And they taught me it's important for you to be nice.